Hey everyone, it's Ryan with This Smart House. So originally I had something different planned for today's video, but I kind of ran out of time this week, so I decided to do a quick review video on some smart home products I found at Costco. So I was at Costco picking up some supplies for the Thanksgiving holiday when I noticed almost an entire row of smart home products. They were running a sale, so I decided to pick up a few of these and see how well they work. So for example, this 2-pack of color LED bulbs were only $10 after their instant coupon, so I figured how bad could they be? So the first thing I noticed was that they all require the Feit app. Now I hate having a bunch of different smart home apps that don't talk to each other on my phone. So after doing a little bit of research, I discovered that actually all of these Feit smart devices just use the white labeled Tuya cloud. So you should be able to add all of these devices into the Tuya app. That gives you the advantage of only needing one app on your phone. Plus, with the new Tuya version 2 integration, you can integrate these into Home Assistant. Now with all of these Tuya type devices, they require Wi-Fi. So these are not Zigbee, Z-Wave, anything like that. So obviously you'll have to have a Wi-Fi network, but you don't require any smart hub to set these up. So on today's video, we're gonna go ahead and do a quick review of each of these products, the smart plugs, the smart bulbs, and the LED strip. And then I'm gonna show you how to get these added to Home Assistant. So the first item we're going to take a look at are these 3-pack of smart plugs. I think it's always funny that Costco attaches everything to giant pieces of cardboard. I guess that's to keep you from stealing them. And like I said, I purchased them for about $15 on sale. I think they're normally about $20 or $25. They're pretty simple, basic smart plugs. They're actually kind of what you consider a mini smart plug. You could actually stack 2 of these on top of each other and on a standard US outlet, so it doesn't block another outlet above or below. It does have a LED indicator to tell you the pairing status, and also a button on the front to allow you to turn on and off the load. Now this doesn't have anything fancy on it like say load sense. Some smart plugs have load sense where if it detects you trying to turn on and off say a lamp, it'll turn the relay on and allow current to flow through. It's also not equipped with something like a power sense to be able to tell you how much current or power is passing through the plug. So it's not going to be good for something if you want to use this on an appliance and see how much power is flowing. I do have some other Tuya compatible plugs that I use that do have power sensing, and I like that for things like my 3D printer. So these devices are pretty simple and easy to set up. So I'm going to assume you already have the Tuya app set up on your phone and you've got your account logged in and everything like that. So we'll just take the smart plug and plug it into, I've got a power strip right here. And usually the first time you plug these things in, they come up into pairing mode. If not, you hold down the button while you plug it in, hold it down for 5 seconds, and that should reset it so it's ready to be paired. So then we'll take the Tuya app, hit the plus button in the corner, click add device. It's going to try to discover devices that are available to the network. So there we go. We see a smart plug. We'll click on that and click add, and we'll add it to our wireless network, which I'll skip through here. All right, so now our smart plug has been added. We can give it any name we want. So I'll call this one Left Christmas Tree and click done. So now it's been added to the app and we can control it on and off so you can hear the relay. Pretty simple, pretty easy to set up. Again, for $5 a piece, it's not bad. I would have liked to have seen some of the more advanced features like you can get for, if you spend just a little bit more on Amazon, you can pick up some plugs that do have the ability to do current sensing and detect if, how much power is passing through there. So again, if that's not something you care about, these are great, especially if you can catch them on sale. But if you do want something a little bit more advanced, I will have links in the description for both these products and some other ones from Amazon that do some similar things. That can be added to the Tuya app and then therefore by Home Assistant. All right, so let's move on to the next device. All right, for the next section, let's take a look at these color smart bulbs. It would have helped if I used the Easy Open tab. All right, so for these light bulbs, they are 60 watt equivalent, so they're not the brightest out there. They consume about 8 watts normally, like most typical LEDs do. The construction quality is a little plasticky. So again, in this case, I'm getting 2 for $10, not that big of a deal, but not very durable. These are actually gonna go outside in a lamp enclosure that I have over my driveway, so I can have different colored holiday lights out there. I don't expect them to last more than a couple of seasons because especially with this material is probably not very well UV rated, but it is inside of a lamp, so it's not gonna get any water on it. So I've got a trusty test lamp here, so let's go ahead and screw the bulb in. And now that it's lit up, let's go ahead and get it added into the app. So we'll head back to the app. Now it's saying it's in pairing mode, flashing. So we'll go ahead and hit add device. It's going to discover devices again, just like the last one. Yep, there, discover the bulb, hit add. Now we got the bulb added. Let's go ahead and hit next and see what we can do with it. Call this one South Light Bulb. Hit done. All right, so of course we have standard control. I'm gonna turn it on and off in the app. All right, so now that we've got the bulb added into our Tuya app, I've discovered that you actually cannot control the bulb inside of the Tuya app. But I did test it, and you can control the color of the bulb in Home Assistant. So you can turn the bulb on and off inside the Tuya app, but you cannot do any other functionality. It shows up as unsupported. So if you're wanting to use this in the Tuya app, I wouldn't recommend it. It does seem to work fine in Home Assistant. So let's take a look at the actual bulb itself. Now, the white function of the bulb seems to work pretty well. You can control different color temperatures of the bulb from cold to warm, and that seems nice and bright. Now, if we switch over to the color though, the color is extremely weak and very, very dull. If we look through the different colors, it's got nice colors, but they're not bright at all. I can barely see it. So this may show that it's not truly fully compatible with Home Assistant. You can dim it, but it's not that great. So I'm going to go ahead and add this to the Feit app and see if it's as dim in that one. If it's as dim in that one, I would not recommend using these bulbs for anything but bright white. So they do seem to have maybe 2 sets of LEDs in them, one for RGB and one for white, different frequencies of white, because the white bulb is super bright, maybe even brighter than my IKEA bulbs. But as far as the RGB color, it's extremely weak. So I did go ahead and set it up in the Feit app and discovered it's exactly the same as it is in the Tuya app connected to Home Assistant. So I'd say if you're looking for a Wi-Fi based tunable white bulb, for if you want to be able to change the frequency of the white light from cold to warm, this seems like a great bulb for that. Only if you're going to control it in a Home Assistant. If you do want to have RGB colors, this does not seem to be the right bulb for you because it is extremely weak RGB colors. It'd be more if you'd only be able to see the bulb itself. The IKEA bulbs, the one that I've got back here behind me, is pretty weak on the color side, but it's still much stronger, 2 or 3 times brighter than this. So I would not recommend these bulbs unless you're going to use them in the white spectrum. All right, so now we're on to the last product, the one I'm actually the most excited about, and that's the LED strip. This LED strip kit is actually kind of cool. So it comes with 16 feet of LEDs, but it also comes with an RF remote, which is pretty neat because most of these you either have to select Wi-Fi or you can control them with a button, like the Wise one is set up. But this one actually has an RF remote, which is kind of neat to be able to control it from there if you do happen to have a situation where you don't have Wi-Fi available. Now, they do claim that these are waterproof. They do have that thick coating on it, similar to the Wise Pro LEDs that do make these LEDs strips themselves waterproof. Now, this isn't something I'd recommend dunking in a tank or just leaving it out open in the rain, but it does say it does for outdoor use. So it does mean it's waterproof to some semblance. Now, you do get a standard corded power supply and this little controller with a small button on the front that allows you to turn on and off and cycle a few modes. There is also a set of mounting accessories to be able to mount it more securely to a surface, especially if you're doing this outdoors. Now, one of the most interesting things about these LED strips is the fact that they actually come with 2 separate LEDs per segment. So you have a white LED and you have a RGB LED. Very similar to how the bulbs seem to work, where you have 2 different styles of LEDs, probably to maximize brightness or get you better quality white. So that's one nice thing about this, is that this does have a pretty decent white color on them, where some of my other LED strips, the white seems to be very blue. It's not very good characteristical white color. So another cool thing is that it has this USB-C style connector to connect the LEDs into your controller. Obviously, that's not a standard USB-C connector, but it's kind of cool because it does make it very easy to unplug and plug the LED strips. Now, these do come in 16.4 feet segments. You can purchase an additional segment if you wanted to extend up to 32 feet. That's as much as the power supply allows you to do. So we'll go ahead and get these plugged in and connected to the Tuya app. So it does have a big warning here on the spool that says do not plug these in while they're spooled up, because these inner ones can get extremely hot and actually cause the epoxy material to melt together. So I am gonna go ahead and connect it with them on the spool. Now, if you notice on the other end, it has a female USB-C connector on it. This allows you to connect 2 strips together. So if you bought 2 kits, you would just not use the second controller and connect them together, but I don't know why you'd want to do that. I haven't seen them sell at Costco these light strips for an additional length, but I'm sure you could find them online. But if you wanted to buy 2 of them and connect them together, you could do that as well. All right, so once we connect power to them, then we can click. The LEDs will turn on, and you'll notice smaller of the LEDs turn on for the white. And again, for the color, it's the larger, more addressable LED. Now, it has instructions on the front. If you press the button 1 time, it'll turn on and off the LED strips. If you press and hold, it'll dim them down and back up again. And then if you press and hold it for 3 seconds while the lights are off, it'll go into pairing mode. So I've already actually connected these to the Tuya app, so we don't need to go through that process again. So if we open the Tuya app back up again, we see this strip light that it creates. And now it does, unlike the bulb, it has full functionality inside the Tuya app. So you can do all of the controls, the colors, everything from inside the Tuya app. Just like you can inside a Home Assistant. So we set these to maximum brightness. We have some options for dimming. So it has this nice little dimmer switch that we can use to change the brightness of the LEDs. So if we go over to the color section here, we can select the color from the color wheel. Of course, it'll change to whatever color you want. These LEDs seem to be decently bright. I mean, they're not as bright as some of my other ones are. So again, the RGB is going to be a little bit weaker than the white is, but it does have some functionality. Notice in the app, there is a button for music here, and that will actually use the microphone on your device. So this isn't like the Wise strips where they have a microphone built in that all runs within the hardware. This requires your phone to be connected, and then it'll change the lights and stuff based on the music. If you go to effects, they do have some kind of cool effects that will change the lights to different preset colors. Now you will notice that all the LEDs on the strip are the same color. This is not selectable. These are not individually addressable LEDs or sectionable addressable LEDs like the Wise Pros are. Or some of the standard WS ones you can buy off the shelf. These are actually, the entire strip has to be the same color, even though the front of the box seems to indicate otherwise. This looks like it's just a color filter they added to it. You cannot have different colors on the same strip. It has to be one color for the whole strip. As you can see here, it's just running through different color schemes. Every LEDs has the exact same color on the whole strip. Those are some of the options that are in the app itself. With all of these devices, you can do schedules. You can integrate with Google or Alexa if you wanted to. Those are all options that you have in the Tuya app itself. You don't need to do anything outside of there. So lastly, I'll show you the remote. It's a pretty simple remote. It has some basic features on off. You can change the white, the color of the white. You can change to different color modes. So again, grab the end of it here. So I can hit the off button and it turns them off, turns it back on again. You can change the white brightness. So it'll let you turn on up and down the brightness of the white. You can have it change colors by pressing the change color button. These are just some preset color modes that you can use with the remote. You can cycle through the basic colors. You can't tune them like you can on some of the other ones. So this is similar to how on the Wise standard strips, you can continue to press the button. And as you press the button, it'll cycle through a few preset colors. If you want to customize them, you have to use either the voice integration or go into the app. So it's nice. I mean, these are kind of cool, basic LEDs ones, basic LEDs. The functionality is similar to that of the Wise light strips, the standard ones, not the Pros, because it's a single color. You do have the advantage of these being waterproof, and you do have the advantage of having an extra remote. So if you're looking for something inexpensive that you want to throw in a kid's room or that you want to do a certain project with, I think these would be kind of a cool one for that. I'm actually going to give these to my wife to use in her classroom. She wanted some LEDs for under her touchscreen monitor that she has out there. So I'm going to get her several of those because she cannot use Wi-Fi devices on the district network. It's restricted. So having this remote is kind of nice for her. So I'll have her try these out in her classroom and see what she thinks. So in this last section, I'll show you how to easily add your Tuya devices back into Home Assistant so you can control them with your other devices in your smart home. So now real quick, if you found this video helpful, please make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. That really helps get the video out to other people. I've noticed my videos kind of reaching out to a new audience over the last few weeks, and it's been really exciting. And also, if you'd like to support this channel, you can go to the URL here below to buy me a beer. Now, I've been given a couple of anonymous donations over the last few weeks, which have been really nice and helpful. And it lets me know that you guys like the content, and it helps me buy more of this gear so I can review it and show you how to use it on the channel. So thanks to all of you that have donated over the last few months. I really appreciate it. Now, this is actually future Ryan, and I am decided to go ahead and move the Tuya integration portion to another video, which actually came out yesterday. So if you haven't watched that already, there's a link up here in the cards or in the description below. But for this last section, I just want to show you what the Home Assistant integration looks like specifically for that light strip. Now, obviously, a smart plug is very simple. It has just an on or off, and that function works completely well in Home Assistant, and it controls those just fine. Like I'd shown in the bulb section, the bulbs work completely fine as well. They have full control over them, including the white control inside of Home Assistant. But real quickly, I'll show you what the light strips look like in Home Assistant. So once you already have your Tuya integration installed, if you haven't already, you can refresh your devices by going to Configuration, Integrations, go to your Tuya integration, click the 3 little dots down next to it, and then click reload. And that will actually reload all of your devices if you've added a few new ones as part of this video. So once you've done that, you can go back into the main menu for the Tuya integration and then click on the devices list and see every device you have there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the light strip. And it's currently off, so I'll turn it on, and there we go. Now, if I toggle this on and off, it'll control it in the app and gives us the capability of changing the color of it, just like everything else. Now, you won't have access to any of those more advanced functions, like the predefined color sweeps that it has in there, but you can always switch over the Tuya app if you wanted to kick on, say, like the Christmas one or whatever it happens to be. But you have all of your different functions, just like you do on the other one, and you can, of course, can select a white light. Now, I will note that when you select white in Home Assistant, it's going to try to create white using the color LEDs on the strips. So right now it doesn't show up in Home Assistant thinking that it does support white. So if you did want to switch over to the white, you'll have to use the remote or the button on the front. So that's one negative about it. You can't activate these white LEDs from Home Assistant because it doesn't see it as a combination white and RGB. It just shows up as RGB. So maybe that's something they'll add here in the future, but hopefully that'll be that case. So there we go. Now we have all of our devices that we've just recently set up in this video are now available in Home Assistant, and you can add them to your heart's content to whatever you want to do with them. So if you want to see my other Home Assistant videos, then click on this playlist here to be taken to those videos. If you'd like to let the algorithm select the next video to watch, click up here. And if you aren't already, please make sure you subscribe to the channel by clicking our logo here. Thanks again, and I'll see you next week.